Sure. You barely made it, buddy.
Oh. What did you say?
Statistically speaking, about 11% of the world has access to good, safe drinking water. Taking it a step further, about 25% of the world has access to adequate plumbing, both sewer and water. And then even further, about 60% of the population on the planet does not have access to flushable toilets. I don't know how many times I've heard that plumbers and plumbing have done more for humanity and more for health than any doctor could dream about. In my opinion, people rely too much on the infrastructure associated with the sewer and water systems in most cities. I've always maintained that if you want to find out how much water means to you, just take it away. I've had situations where I've had to shut off somebody's water for a half a day or even a day sometimes, and people in the Western world don't know what to do without it. I've spent the last 6 days running water lines all over my property. Using the 1-inch line as the main trunk line, I ran that around the house, up the hill as far as I safely could with a backhoe. And then next week, when I get the delivery of the excavator, I will finish running it up the rest of the way to where the tank will sit. I've said it before, but I would prefer not to rely on booster pumps for our pressure. So I'm trying to place our tank about 70 to 80 feet above the level of the house, which will in turn give me somewhere between 40 and 48 psi. This is plenty. While I ran that 1-inch line around the house, I teed off and installed a new service to the house in 1-inch pipe. As the shop, I only used a 3/4 inch line because I didn't have a reason for any more than a 3/4 inch line. I also installed it on the outside wall of the kitchen. I never felt great about it, but it was what it was, and I decided to work around it. Since we're doing the addition, this is an opportunity for me to rough in a new water service and get it out of that wall. It will no longer be vulnerable for freezing. I also teed off that 1-inch line every place that I could think of and installed a Woodford yard hydrant. I have a total of 4 hydrants installed around the property, and I'll probably do a couple more up on the hill for livestock. I've used these Woodford hydrants for years. They're by far the best yard hydrants on the planet. They last, they don't freeze when they're properly installed, and they hold up. In my opinion, you can never have too many points for water connection. There's so many different places on a homestead for water, whether it's cleaning off a piece of equipment, or a greenhouse, or gardening, or the list is endless. While I'm running the water line, it doesn't take a whole lot more work to put the yard hydrants where we want them. Cedar made it clear to me that she did not want to have to pack a 5-gallon bucket up the hill to water the chickens in the middle of winter. I put a yard hydrant right in the middle of where the chicken pen is going to be. I also put a yard hydrant right where the garden's going to be. Now, if we had bought an existing homestead where somebody else had done all the work, I wouldn't have to worry about these things. There's good and bad that comes with it. Naturally, I would have spent way more money to get an existing homestead. Then on top of that, I either would have had to modify or simply live with what was existing. Because we started from scratch, we're able to do these things. It does take way more time, but there's something very satisfying about doing what I'm doing right now. There will most definitely be settling after a couple of winters, and I'll deal with that as it comes. But for the most part, while using the backhoe, I compacted it quite well, and it shouldn't settle a whole lot. I've used that backhoe for a million different things. It's got 323 hours on it right now, and I put literally every single one of those hours on it. It's an extension of me. Whether it was plowing snow, or my septic system, or the well, or just moving thousands of tons of dirt, I could not have done what I've done at the pace that I've been able to do it without the backhoe. On Monday, they picked the backhoe up and they dropped the excavator off. I'll go through a short learning curve getting acclimated to the excavator. This next phase on the homestead requires the excavator. Getting the road up to where the tank is going to sit needs to be done with an excavator. Cleaning up the hillside and dealing with some of these maple trees can be done much easier with this excavator. There's not too many places an excavator can't go. Most people don't understand what it takes to get the infrastructure in place for homes. Whether it's sewer or water, it takes effort. In an application like ours, where we don't have access to city water or city sewer, it takes even more effort. We're finally at the home stretch. I can't wait to get the well hooked up, fired up, and water pumping. It will likely be an emotional day.
Okay, water line's done. Came around the house, teed off, roughed up 1 inch for the this is the new water service. Came on by here. Before I went up the hill, I teed off, put another yard hydrant over here, went up the hill. First yard hydrant is for the garden. Second yard hydrant over here, where's it at? Somewhere in the shade over there. Right there. Is for Cedar's chicken coop. Then in 1 inch, I continued up the hill. You can kind of see it way up there. The roll sitting there on the hill. And that's as far as I comfortably went with the backhoe. I ran another 3/4 line all the way across. And right there you can barely see the yard hydrant up there. So I've got 4 yard hydrants now. I've got the main trunk line in all the way up the hill. Monday I get the excavator, so they're gonna drop the excavator off and take my backhoe. That's the only bummer about the whole situation, I guess, but I'm really looking forward to using that excavator to cut the trail in that I need to put the water tank in. So now that I have all the water line in, I have to get the tank mounted about another 50 feet above that point and then trench up to it. I already have everything for the well in place, so if I hadn't used PEX, if I'd used PVC, I wouldn't have been comfortable backfilling it before pressure testing it. But because of the pressure that it's going to be under, and because it's PEX, I'm not worried about having leaks. Next step is to get the water tank about 60 feet above that point and get the tank mounted in a level, safe spot where the tank is not going to be damaged. Run the water line to it. I'll use the excavator to do that, and then I can turn the well on and start filling it up. So I'm looking forward to testing the well. The pump and the solar panels are ready to go. Once the tank is in place, we can kick this thing off, and I'm really looking forward to having water. It is so dusty right now. It's so dry. It just threatened to rain for about 5 minutes, just enough to dirty everything up. We need rain really, really bad. Once the water's in place, I'll run the sprinklers like crazy, partly to flush that well out, partly because we need the water. So there's no reason why I can't use the water in the meantime. So anyway, looking forward to getting that done. I also have that 1 inch service to the house now, which is a pretty big deal. I'm replacing this 3/4 inch service, which is on the exterior wall, which I've just never felt good, but I didn't have any other options because that's how I did it when I initially was gonna make this a shop. So having that 1 inch line come up inside the utility room will be much safer and much less prone to freezing. So Monday, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that new excavator.